Hey there, creatives. Thanks so much for your continued listenership to the Creative Psychotherapist podcast. Today, I am really excited to share. I know I'm always really excited to share, but really, no, I am. I'm excited to share this conversation that I had with registered expressive arts therapist and licensed clinical social worker, Julia Varing. And she's doing amazingly cool stuff with video based drama therapy techniques, green screen technology in the work with hospice clients and adults with neurocognitive decline. Um, and I was just blown away. And I hope you enjoy this conversation and are inspired by the way she's making some changes to the way services are delivered for the aging population of people. And yeah, I was so inspired by this conversation. So without further ado, thanks for listening to the Creative Psychotherapist podcast. I'm your host, Raina Lombardi, and I'm delighted to welcome my next guest, Julia Varing. She is a performance artist and musician, a licensed clinical social worker, and a registered expressive arts therapist based in Kansas City. She's integrated arts into social work for 20 years, centering her practice in joy, humor, imagination, and the strengths perspective. Varing began experimenting with video-based drama therapy techniques while working at a nursing facility in 2004 and noticed that residents with dementia had increased agitation, increased spontaneous communication, and increased joy. I said increased agitation. It's really decreased agitation, which is what we're looking for. Sorry about that. But they had increased joy while engaging in the improvisation. The residents loved watching themselves in the movies they starred in, and she continued to hone this method, incorporating fill in the blank scripts, green screen technology, and live performance participation via video projection. She's received grants from the Charlotte Street Foundation and the Andy Warhol Foundation for Visual Arts for her community based performance work involving collaborations with older adults and people with neurocognitive disorders. Varying tours and releases albums as Unicorns in the Snow, a performance art project that integrates interactive projections, stop motion animation, and original music. She's worked in hospice and long-term care settings for the last 17 years and opened her practice Expressive Arts Therapy KC in 2022, serving children through seniors individually, pediatric palliative care patients in their homes, and groups in nursing facilities. Her expressive arts groups engage nursing facility residents in reimagining vintage movies and musicals through improvisational play. She became the first registered expressive arts therapist in the state of Kansas in 2023 and serves as the Kansas State Coordinator for the International Expressive Arts Therapy Association. She integrates expressive arts, psychodrama, and EMDR into her practice and is currently creating a workbook and film on performance art interventions for people with neurocognitive disorders. I'm so excited to talk with you today about your work. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Thank you so much for having me and your work in getting all of us creative people to know each other.
Yeah. So I can't believe that you're the first registered expressive arts therapist in Kansas
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
Like, what's going on in Kansas?
Oh, we need more expressive arts therapists for sure. Yes. So, and we have, I don't know how many art therapists or music therapists we have around, but yeah, it's kind of the registered expressive arts therapist credential is a little more of a baby compared to some of the older ones. I think it was born in the 90s. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm a Leslie grad, and
oh, yeah.
so in my mind, I'm like, what? How is that
Right.
possible?
been since the
Um,
70s. How does not everybody know about this?
yeah. Um, so how did you get started with like integrating drama and acting? Was that something that you were doing outside of being a social worker? And just like thought, let me check this out with my clients.
Yeah, it started pretty early because as a teenager, I knew I wanted to be a social worker and an artist, and I thought photographer at first. And essentially in college, I ended up doing an internship at a senior center. And that's because I had worked with many different populations. And I thought, oh, I haven't really worked with seniors. I'll try it. And fell in love and started doing recording oral histories and composing music to them. I switched from photography to video and music and got really into learning about performance art and late 20th century composers and Laurie Anderson and Miranda, got to see Miranda July live, who's incredible many discipline artist, filmmaker, and everything else. And so I started out as a performance artist myself. And then when I worked in my first job being a activities assistant at a nursing facility out of college, I just thought, well, we've been doing the same thing. I looked at the calendar when I got hired. I thought they have Pictionary on the calendar like every night for the last 10 years. Like, I wonder if anyone else would want to do something different since I
Yeah.
can't draw. And also everyone's bored and there's only 5 people here. And so I thought, let's make a movie night. And so I brought out the TV on the cart and I brought my ad. I have an extensive collection of wigs. And I just thought, okay, I'm just going to bring some simple improv scenarios and let's just give it a whirl. We're going to just make the movie and play it right away. No editing, just plug it into the TV on the cart. And I was floored. Like, I was floored by, I already knew the residents, at least some of them pretty well, and kind of knew what their baseline level of communication was.
Mm-hmm.
And for some of them, it might be, if I would ask them, what is your name? It would be quite a delay.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, so with one of these residents at that kind of level, I said, okay, you're going to a restaurant and you just realize you're on a date and you forgot your wallet. And he was like, well, let me go out to the car. And I was just like I just went on, and it was like made perfect sense. And then they brought in this other lady. She was screaming, and there's sometimes, you get someone that's causing a ruckus and they're like, let's drop them off in activities. And so she was like, what am I doing? She had just moved in. She was like, they stole my apartment. What am I doing here? And this poor woman. And so I said, okay, hold on. Can we just take a second here? You're a movie director and you just auditioned this woman and you have to tell her she didn't get the part. And I swear, like this, she was like, oh, honey, your hair is just all wrong. And I was like, what? And she didn't go back to screaming. And then this was an old camcorder. This is like not fancy at all. I think I was even borrowing my dad's camcorder. I plugged it in. I showed them the movie, which had no editing. And they were like, wow, the movie. And so I kind of got sparked and inspired about this whole, like, what is the future of video technology and performance art? And like, what else is here? And so at that level, I was working a minimum wage job with a liberal arts degree. And the first, I was the activities assistant, which people were like, why did you go to college for this job? Like, are you crazy? And, they said the next day when I came in after that first time, my boss was like, everyone's talking about the movie thing, but we talked to the lawyers and you can't do that. You can't do video anymore. And so it
Oh
kind of took,
no.
yeah. So it was like, okay, note to self, get another degree. And so it took like 6, I did still play with a lot of drama and improv and let's do a puppet show and do things that way. But it was kind of like, okay, I've got to get I got to get another credential and move myself up in the ladder so that I can do this kind of work the right way and get permission and have enough, credibility that I'm,
Mhm.
about the intention of this work that I can actually make it happen.
Oh, it's such an awesome story. And I mean, that's really the emergence of all of our expressive arts disciplines, right?
Right.
Somebody who has a deep connection with the art process brought it in a space where I think often humanity gets lost,
Yes.
and the arts reinfuse that into the space, and it really does wake people up in a different
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely. I talk about the dehumanization of our healthcare system. And I'm sure you've heard people say, I'd rather die than go to a nursing facility.
Yeah.
And people aren't joking when they say that sometimes.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's a problem.
It
And I know why they say
is.
that.
Of course.
Um, but yes, and the reason been able to continue to do this work and kind of elevate it and get degrees and things and now get do it at a level that's sustainable for me and that's recognized is my colleagues, my interdisciplinary colleagues, seeing the impact of the arts on our
Mhm.
hospice patients and on the residents and vouching for it.
Mhm. So are obviously you're doing green screen technology. So you are using film now in your work.
Well, so let me say that until the pandemic, I was working for a day program for people with early to mid stage dementia.
Mhm.
And in that program, we had, so it was all green screen video work. And so they would come in, we would start each session by watching the edited version of what we had made the week before. And so again, people wouldn't really remember what necessarily what we had done. Just like it was
Mhm.
fun, but I don't really remember which show we did or what we did. And so being able to re-experience that joy while
Mhm.
watching it. And then
Yeah.
also kind of like, well, where were we? Because it's like, oh, there's these cool backgrounds. It's like, we did Footloose. So it was like I used the background from Saved by the Bell. So they're just um so unfortunately, the green screen work has not picked up again, but I am doing mostly nursing facility work now without using video, although I am working on a film to document the work and hopefully get more people using intermodal expressive arts
Mm.
with this population and for people to build off of it and play more. That's my goal.
No, that's awesome. I have such respect for what you're doing. I know it's hard to change systems, and those systems really have a very closed box. So to be able to open it and get in there and start small and convince people like this is worth investing in because it's increasing these folks' quality of life, and it's bringing them into the present moment where they can live and engage in meaningful ways. That's so powerful.
Absolutely. It's essential, right? It's what makes life worth living. And
Yeah.
not only that, but identity expansion. Like there's these old models where we kind of like stop developing at 60. It's like it's ridiculous. That you can still have new experiences and expand and create new work
Hmm.
at that age with those conditions. It doesn't have to be doing all a sing along to Frank Sinatra, although I will do that at times. But let's make something new. Let's be Frank. Let's see what Frank would do. Like let's let's not just listen, let's become it. Let's
Yeah. I think that there's something that happens in those settings where um, there's there's a sensory deprivation
mm-hmm.
that occurs in a nursing facility. And if somebody's never worked in a nursing facility and spent a lot of time there, then they might not know. But even the decor of the space, it's really, really unappealing. You
Yeah.
know, it the access to the locations, if you're in a locked facility, you're kind of bouncing from one space to another, pacing a hallway.
Mm-hmm.
There, and we need sensory interaction, um,
Absolutely.
right? Of a variety of things. I think as functioning, adults out in the world where we're inside of our homes, we're outside of our homes, we're in different environments, we are experiencing a constant flurry of sensory information, which is important to our neural health. And then as soon as somebody is starting to experience this decline, it seems like that's really important to be bringing in, that they are still being stimulated in these
Absolutely.
ways. And I can see how the work that you're doing, bringing in props um, and getting them to move and watch themselves on the screen, like all of
Mm.
these things are really contributing to that stimulation that they wouldn't be getting.
Yeah, and the sense of community. I had one of the residents I was at the facility a couple weeks ago say like, hey, and she's the resident council president. She's like, how often do we even like know who each other are? Like when we're not doing this group, we don't talk to each other. We don't know each other. Like, so it's also community building. And I, when I started as an activities assistant, it was like, well, the people on hospice, they need one-on-one. So I would go, revolution on their hands and do Dear Abby and all those things. But really there's some reasons that clinically people need to are bed bound or something, but for the
Mhm.
most part, not really. And so that same person that would be stuck in a one-on-one, which means like more time in their room, could come out and be in my group. And even if they are nonverbal, quote, air quotes, they can absolutely be a part in a play and take care of the baby or be use the dog puppet or smile and mouth some words as I'm putting the microphone to their lips, like all of
Mhm.
those things. But if we don't try, we're not ever going to find out.
Yeah, so true. So, so true. It's easy to just say, oh, that person is mute, or and not even give them the opportunity. I think that happens too with young people, as
Absolutely, yes.
well, right? Like, oh, well, they stopped talking. So why are you inviting them to speak?
I hear that from the teenagers I work with who are on palliative care services about, yeah, the isolation and how they're treated, as being like a wheelchair user. Like, yeah, that it's, I mean, as if being a teenager wasn't isolating enough, period. And then to have that, and then the pressure, the same pressure to have this certain body and all those things. So yeah, and we can't afford to do that, right? Like there's going to be, what is it, in 2040, the number of 1 in 5 Americans is going to be over 65. By 2035, there's going to be more older adults than kids. So we can't continue to let like working with people with disabilities or older adults be kind of a fringe issue. Like in my master's level program for aging, a master's of social work, but aging, I think with there 10 people. Like we had the tiniest group. No one wants to study aging. But it's so much fun and it can be new and creative and fun. And there's so much there. This work feeds my soul. Like it's there's a lot of people that are overlooked that have so much to offer, and we can't afford to just ignore that.
Yeah, I that I know I've read that statistic somewhere, but just hearing you say it, it's shocking. Um, and what does that mean? Because I feel like, well, that's going to be me. I'm going to be
Yeah.
that aging person. And, are there going to be people like you that are engaging us in meaningful engagement, meaningful interaction, for self and connection with others? Um, yeah, because our approach to just, well, let's turn on the TV and
Yeah.
everybody kind of gathers around the TV. It's so depressing.
Yeah, it is very
Yeah.
depressing. I'd rather be in Dirty Dancing. What I did last week. I'd rather be pretending I'm Patrick Swayze. So anyway,
Yeah,
than watching TV.
absolutely. So how do you go about building the relationships with the different nursing facilities and kind of I'm sure there's an education process that you go when you're saying, okay, I'm going to partner with this facility to provide this service for them. Can you kind of walk listeners who might be interested in doing something similar? Like, what is that process like? And are there any suggestions for what they should prepare to present to the decision makers in those facilities?
Yes, very good question. And I am very lucky right now in that so before I started my private practice, I was full-time employed by Kansas City Hospice. It's like the oldest hospice in Kansas City, nonprofit. And I, as well, first as a social worker and then as an expressive arts therapist, and started doing some groups in that role. And then, so basically, once I decided I was going on my own, I had a lot of support from my team that were like, we still need Julia. We still need this expressive, multimodal expressive arts work. Like, we are, this is the impact we see on our patients' faces.
Mm.
We see them come alive. And so they advocated. So I turned that into, I have a contract with Kansas City Hospice and they fund and support the program. And we already have relationships with facilities. And some, actually one of the facilities I was at this week, I used to work at, I worked at for 3.5 years. So sometimes it's like I already know people and it's a small world, but, and so I just kind of put together a really simple one-page piece of, very colorful and fun with all the different characters I play, but also like, hey, this is what this program is. It increases joy, it increases communication, sense of community, sense of meaning. These groups are completely inclusive of all levels and abilities. Basically, yeah, these are the benefits for your residents. And at first they're like, what are you doing? It's like I'm being honest, I could still work on my spiel a little bit, but I explained, I've been doing this work a long time. I'm a registered expressive arts therapist. I love this population. This is my jam. And then it kind of builds. Like the first time I might come to a facility, people are like, what? And you get that, like you just said, well, that resident can't do that part, or like, he can't really, that they can't do the thing. And I just kind of politely smile and ignore what they say. Just go,
Okay.
go ahead and give them a role anyway. And sometimes it can be a role that's the main role. It does. So we're not trying to like recreate this world of exclusion where we're like, okay, and now that we have a small group, the people that aren't as verbal also don't get parts here. Like that is
Right.
absolutely not the paradigm we're trying to recreate here. And so then once they see like all the residents can do, they're like, what? They're like, oh, you're going to perform. I'm like, no, the residents and I are performing for you, like with each other. They are playing the parts. They're like, what? And so I explained with my cart. And once they see what the residents can do and how they come alive, and then they, residents will talk to each other too, and then the groups will get bigger. And people remember like, oh, I played this person last time and I did this. Oh, I want the drums again, or no, I want the baby doll. I want that puppet. I want that puppet again. And like I had a, and it just grows and evolves. And as I get to know each, I'll learn each resident a little bit and know like what their strengths are. I know that, okay, that woman is deaf. And I had trouble at a group not too long ago. Not trouble, that's not the right word, but I had struggle
There's
connecting at times. I mean, with in a group where I was trying to use like reading my lips, and anyway, we were struggling. And then last time I went in there, I gave her the big puppet, this big huge puppet, and she was just like, oh, look at her dance, look at her dance. And like all of a sudden she was in the group through the puppet. She was completely in the group, smiling, looking at me, but also like pausing at times when it was appropriate and completely engaged, even though she could not hear what was happening and didn't know that we were necessarily doing dirty dancing. It didn't really matter, but she was completely engaged in her role. And I had never seen her light up like that before. And I could just see watching staff watch her. Oh, it's just so
Mhm.
powerful to watch. Like, yeah, and then, anyway, it's so many magical moments every time.
Oh, I love it.
So, yeah, I guess, okay, I didn't really answer your question. The activity director is usually the person, every facility is mandated, like, at least if they're a skilled nursing facility, to have activities and have an activity director, which has some qualifications. So now whether or not they have one at the moment, that's another question. But so there's systems already in place at
Mm,
all these places, some better than others. And most of these places really need and want different things. I mean, more
mhm,
things. Like you know, bingo only goes so far. So I think there's so much opportunity I would say also, every facility has a social worker. So you could meet with the social work team because they're the ones that are really monitoring the residents, psychological mental health issues through this mandated assessments. And all the screenings they need to do. So it's a win-win for everybody that they can, if you have a program you want to bring in, like there's a lot of opportunities there. And if you get no, keep going. Because even if you're offering, I hate to say this, even if you're offering something that is not costing the facility anything, many times you will still have to make many calls and track people down. It's not the most well-oiled machine.
mm.
So, but don't despair. You will find like there's tons of facilities. You'll find one, you'll get the right activity director on the phone that here's what you're offering and and knows the value. And it may not be
Nice.
every director. And even if they don't know the value, it's okay. The residents know the value when you get in there, even if the activity person walks away and doesn't see the whole thing because they're too busy. The residents give you the feedback you need.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's powerful. So connecting with the activities director and the social work department,
Mhm.
kind of providing them with some education
Yeah.
about how expressive arts therapies can connect and waken the lives of the residents
Yes.
so that they're engaged in their day, um, which I think facilities want to see that.
Yes, in theory.
Mm,
No, they do. They do. They do. It's just not always knowing how to do it. And I will say,
mhm.
like, on facilities' behalf, I do not want to be saying anything about. I mean, with especially, facilities funded by Medicaid, which pays less than it requires to take care of somebody. It is just
Yeah.
not, it's a broken system. It's a really bad system.
Yeah.
So it's a really difficult system to work in. And there's a lot of equity issues with the way certified nursing aides are paid and
Mhm.
that the work, they're doing backbreaking work.
Yeah.
And the
Oh, for
activities
sure.
assistants typically don't get offered a lot of education on,
Mm.
well, really, I'd say some facilities do a good job. Most probably don't do the greatest job.
Mhm.
Um, so there's just real opportunity there.
Yeah. And important. It's important work too.
Yeah.
I living in Southwest Florida, there's an assisted living facility or skilled nursing facility like every block, everywhere you go, right? There's so
Mhm.
many. Our aging population is large, and the need is there for sure.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, that's not just here. I mean, we have a lot of retirees here, but it's
Right. I know this
everywhere.
other stat was like, what is it? The number of adults age 85 and older, the group most often needing help with personal care and probably in the nursing facilities will quadruple from 2000 to 2040. So the old, in gerontology, there's like old. There's all these like different types of old, because a 60-year-old and a 90-year-old, that's a different generation. That's not.
Mm-hmm.
So these groups too. I mean, the people that live in these facilities, it's a heterogeneous. This is not like, and depending on the facility too. So I know, for one facility, Dirty Dancing is going to work better than Pajama Game or whatever, just based on the age, the demographics, all those things. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you must have a excellent survey of like soundtracks in your mind for all of these
Yes.
different generations of people.
Yeah, and with technology, it's like, what do you want to hear? Like they can pick. So
Yeah, if they
you can, do you want to do this song or
know.
this song?
Mm-hmm.
Which one next? Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So I know you're out in the field doing the community work, but you also have a practice. How do you balance that? How do you balance the two?
Yeah, it's taken a minute to figure out. But I do the groups, the nursing facility groups, working the hospice 1 day a week, and then I do private practice 3 days a week. And I've found that I can only see 12 to 15 max to feel okay and not feel too stressed and feel sane, and like I have enough time to prepare and really think about everybody. And then I kind of reserve up Fridays for like my own therapy work and peer support. And that's kind of how I've made my week work. And so far it's working really well. And I kind of need both. Like I really like doing the individual work as well, and integrating expressive arts with
Mm-hmm.
EMDR, and using a lot of psychodrama, and working with very different populations than I do in the nursing facility. And I find I couldn't probably sit in an office more than 3 days a week either. Like that would be a challenge for me. So having this balance right now kind of feels kind of perfect for me, but
Mm-hmm.
it took a minute to figure out exactly where to put all the pieces and all those things. So the spice is the variety of my life. So I found that I don't think I could do private practice more than 3 days a week. I didn't even know that going in, but I discovered it. So it was like, okay, so I got to, contract with my former employer 1 day a week. And then, so it worked out. But I know for sure now, I know people do private practice 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And people see like insane amounts of clients. And I know I'm not that person.
Yeah, that's okay. I agree. I'm not that person either. Like my caseload is small and I do a lot of like uh colleague supervision, right? Some supervision work. I also do some contracted groups in the community.
Mhm.
And I agree, like I like that movement, right? It keeps it challenging, it keeps things interesting, and it prevents that. I love a routine, but having that routine day in, day out, if it gets boring, then oh, that's not good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not good. It's not good for your soul.
Yeah, no. Right. I think that there's something about being a creative person that we are drawn to a lot of diversity in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, to sit and do like office work all day, every day, ugh, that would be way too hard.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
And I
Yeah.
also try to throw in a little bit of my own work now. I kind of my own, performance artwork, personal process. And sometimes that's collaborative. At other times it's not. And working on or starting a new performance art project. My sister just gave me back this amazing Barbie apartment that we used to have. It's like this little cube thing that
Oh.
folds out, and it's got like the Murphy bed that folds down. So anyway, I'm playing around with some stop motion animation and floor projections. It's going to be called The Worm, and it's going to be anyway multi-dimensional projection kind of. I do all this work with like pantomiming with projections moving and making things bigger and smaller, and yeah, creating a surreal kind of experience through different modalities.
Sounds incredible. Yeah. So it's important to have that time for you too. Because being a performer and helping others perform, that's a tremendous energy output. Um, that, if you're just sitting and engaging one on one, there's energy output. But when you're orchestrating a whole group and you're performing in that it's a whole performance in itself, what you're doing, that definitely takes a lot. And it makes sense that you.
Yeah, I couldn't do it more than one day a week, actually, the way I do it right now, because you're right, of the physical energy. And also,
Mhm,
I've already thought about adaptations as I get older. But, like right now, most of my group is in wheelchairs and I'm walking around, but I'm also like squatting a lot and kneeling. And it's like I'm engaging each one on one and the group, and kind of going back and forth and checking in with people and going back and forth. So
mhm.
I am always drenched in sweat at the end. Plus, I'm usually wearing a wig and polyester costume. Dripping with sweat. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It is physically.
it's physical. Yeah. It's
Uh-huh.
yeah. So it's nice to have like that really not that it's not also emotional and everything else, but doing that is very different than sitting and doing EMDR with complex trauma. It's nice to be able to move back and forth.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love the EMDR process so much. And I only recently took the training to start doing it earlier this year, but I feel like I'm just going down a rabbit hole in
Mhm.
just learning as much as I can. And there's so much to learn, and there's so many ways of adapting it with the
So
creative
many.
process.
So many, with like using guitar for bilateral stimulate, pluck pluck drums, like, just yeah, doing an interweave with a little bit of a chi move. Yeah, there's so many. Actually, I would put a plug in for I need to say this right, the Trauma Informed Practices and Expressive Arts Therapy Institute. So that's Kathy McLeody's center, and they're doing a lot of really cool. I'm actually in the middle of a training right now on it's all EMDR phase 2 sensory integration. And it's like, oh, phase 2 is like, there's a million ways to do containment, and not just one container. It's taught by Kathy McLeody and Elizabeth Warson. And anyway, they have a lot of really great way kind of integrating EMDR and arts, and really drilling down on all these different ways to expand
Mm.
the different phases, and really yeah, that it's much more complicated than than sometimes people make it seem. So,
No, it sounds great. I know lots of people are integrating like physical movement, dance,
mhm.
movement with using the sand tray in the sand. And I feel like so many different applications.
I
Um,
saw Dr. Jamie Merritt, she is Institute for Creative Mindfulness. She came to Kansas City a little while ago for an EMDR training and did a demo, where the demo ended up inside the full EMDR 8 phase, I guess 7, because it wasn't no reevaluation, but a stand-up comedy routine was weaved into the EMDR, and it was standard protocol, but integrating, yeah, and it just happened
my
spontaneously.
my jaw is kind of dropping. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, and it just happened. I mean, it wasn't like a planned thing, like we're going to show you how to do this. It just happened. So, because it was like, yeah, I don't want to reveal too much more about it, but anyway, so that's possible. You can do a standard protocol EMDR and weave in a stand-up comedy routine.
Uh, that's it. That's so awesome. Yeah. The more I learn, the more I want to learn. It's so effective, one. And I just love the aspect of the creativity, our own creativity that's doing all the work for us.
yeah, like the imagery, I've received EMDR in training and I'm receiving it now, like integrated from an art therapist, EMDR person. And that's another big belief of mine is like receive, receive, receive. You will learn so much more if you receive the
Yes.
modality. I'm receiving psychotherapy or not psychodrama too. And that's like by someone that's faculty at Hudson Valley Psychodrama
Oh,
Institute. And
yes.
luckily she lives in Kansas. And so I just am so lucky. So that has been like honestly just as big a part of my training as doing classes, is doing it, receiving from the other end.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just these wonderful images that can
Mm-hmm.
come from doing that work that are so healing.
So healing. It's true. That's how I got interested, was I was doing it myself.
Yes.
And I was like, I have to learn how to do this. And we got to a place and she's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, oh, I'm not done yet. I'm not, you're not getting rid of me that easy. Um, no, I've got more stuff to do. We just unpacked a little bit,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
I know. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so important to keep doing our own work because it helps me relate when, clients are like, dang, I'm still here. And I'm like, I know what you mean. Like, I mean, hopefully it's not, I'm still here in the same place, but it's like, yeah, it's not our inner healing work isn't just one and done. And it's not like once you've gone to graduate school for therapy that all of a sudden, like you've done all your work. You don't need to
Right.
do anymore. Um,
Yeah.
especially, yeah,
lifelong,
absolutely.
right? Like you were saying, that whole like identity development piece that, okay, you've reached, your senior years, you're done growing. No way. There's still so much work to do, even as we are getting older and we're still able to learn and let go and release and integrate different things that perhaps in a different time of life we weren't able to.
Mhm.
It's yeah, it's ongoing.
I slipped the other day and I said, how did it feel? I kind of go, my ending thing is kind of checking in with each person and saying, like, how was it to be in this role and kind of de-rolling and what are you taking with you? And I modify that depending on the person. Um, and I said, what was it like to be a young dancer again? I don't know why I said again, but she was like, well, and she looked she thinks she's in her 90s. She was like, well, I never was a young dancer. So it was totally new. I was just like, yeah, you're right. This is about new experiences. It's not about reliving the past. Like we're creating new memories and new experiences. We're bringing in stuff that we have from the past, but we're not stuck back there.
Ah, I love that. That is so cool. So I know you were talking about you're going to be creating a workbook
Yes.
and a film. Can you share a little bit about where you are in progress for that and how that's coming along? Because I think that would be just a tremendous resource for the community, especially for folks that really do want to work with the aging population using the expressive arts, because there's not a tremendous amount of literature out there on that population.
Yeah, there really isn't. And yeah, given the stats, it just doesn't make sense. So my workbook, been working on it for about a year and a half, and I've been kind of like essentially operationalizing each of my groups that I do based on the different movies and shows. So it'll be like People's Court, the musical. And so basically where I'm at, and I'm going to self-publish. And I'm kind of now working on more of the conceptual part, which is like what is this new model of the creative generativity and incorporating digital and identity expansion. So that I would say it's probably a year out though, honestly. And then the film hopefully will be done sooner. It's quite a process as you can
Mhm.
imagine, to get permission.
Oh, yeah.
So even, when I was doing the day program where it was a much smaller group of people, just kind of honestly, even finding the right person to talk to on the board took 6 months. So I'm in the middle of getting some consents, and I have a local filmmaker that's going to do the actual shooting for me, and then I'm going to edit it all and hope to get that out as soon as I can. But it's still, I would say that's another probably 6 months or so.
That's
Because
awesome.
seeing is believing, because you really need to see. I can explain it all I want, but to be able, and there's one video up there right now on Facebook of me doing dirty dancing the other week, but you need to see the face and the expression and need what I'm seeing. So excited to capture that here soon, and
Yeah.
keep you all posted.
I would say that that then becomes a resource for other people to say, why don't you check out um, Julia's film on this topic to
Yes,
see
right.
if this kind of work might work in this facility. I think it becomes, you know, a ripple effect
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
practitioners and then the participants.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably talk for 10 years, but you could probably seeing a few-minute video clip would probably be more effective. Like, really. So, in
Yeah.
understanding, I mean, that of course the explanation is important too, but I mean, seeing is believing. So, to be able to see people come alive in this very visceral way um, is an important part of the work,
Mhm.
and being able to capture that.
I I also think, and I'm certainly not suggesting, but maybe that it would be amazing for you to mentor other people that are wanting to do this work. That you've been doing it for so long. I'm sure you have techniques and approaches that help you get in there and get the clients to do things that other people are like, "You're a magician. How did you do that?"
Yes, I would love to do that. And I'm always like encouraging the activities assistants I work with. I'm like the other day, one of them actually kind of took over and we were doing people's court for a minute. And I was like, this is exactly what I want them to do. I want them to take over. And, I can give them, I mean, they need guidelines and things like that, but like, it's kind of unrealistic that there's going to be enough REITs, like enough.
Right.
So like we need more people doing it. So yeah, mentoring. If there's anyone else out there that's listening that's like also working on a workbook or in a similar vein and wants to like barter editing or anything, or just share ideas, like I'm all about just like, let's talk about our work and what you're doing, what I'm doing. And yeah, so supervision and all those things. I mean, I can do REIT supervision and, LSCSW supervision. Um, and yeah, so there's more people. Yeah, I definitely need more people. I've done some teaching, but that's not really my main thing. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping to present at like conferences once I finish the film. So
Yes, I think that you need to present at the Expressive Therapy Summit conference.
I love their summit. It's so good. It is so
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, and the work that you're doing, it's like all all the people that, want to do that kind of stuff, that's where they're going to be. It would
Yeah.
be a perfect fit.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know I was already planning after our conversation to suggest that Barry reach out to you.
Yes. Oh, thank
Um,
you.
but yeah, gosh, once you have your film to like show other people what's possible, I think that would
Yeah.
just be
And I
fantastic.
should say I do have I mean, like I don't have documentation of the work I'm doing at this moment, but I do have other work up online, like on my website, unicornsinthesnow.com. And Expressive Arts Therapy KC.com. That's more my clinical work, but I do have, you can get on there. I mean, you just Google my name, Julia Vera, and green screen videos, and you'll see them on YouTube and see what I'm talking about with not the nerd with a similar population, but more people that are still living in the community. So it's different. I mean, it's a different population slightly than what I'm doing now, but you can see you can see, oh, what do we our renditions of Grease and Footloose and oh, I don't Back to the Future 2020, and you can see that. So check
Fun.
it out. Check
Okay, I will. I will definitely check it out, and I'll put some links in the show notes to the videos and of course Unicorns in the Snow. And then your practice is Expressive Arts Therapy KC.com. If there's any parting wisdom that you could give to an up and coming expressive arts therapist who wants to work with the aging population, integrating, um, creativity and drama and music, what would you give them? What advice would you give them?
I would say we have a great opportunity here, and the risk of doing something new and trying something new and bringing in something new and what that might be and what could happen if we're trying to work in new ways is much lower than leaving things as they are. We can't.
Mhm.
So we need new work, new ideas, and some, within limits, some risk taking
Mhm.
as far as trying things and being willing to safely fail. We don't want our clients to fail, but it's okay if what we try doesn't totally work out the first time. Like, it's okay.
Mhm.
As long
Yeah.
as we're taking care of people and keeping people safe. Like, try something new because we really need some novelty in this area.
Yeah.
There's space
Totally.
for you. There's space for you. There's plenty of work to do here.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's
for all you do.
it's been a joy to talk to you and to see how your face light up with all the passion that you have for the work that you do, which is really important.
Thank you so much, Raina. Keep up all your good work too, bringing us all together.
Thank you. I'm planning on it. Um, there are times where I'm like, I don't know if I have the energy to do this podcast anymore. But then I'm like, nope, I took a break. I took a nice long break in the summer. And now I'm like, it's been so rejuvenating talking
Mhm.
with people this week because this is the first week I'm recording
Mm.
again. And I just learned so much from all the people like yourself that I talk to. And I think it helps me to be a better therapist at what I do by
Mm.
having these conversations. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to the Creative Psychotherapist podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Julia and myself. I just am so inspired by the work that she's doing. And I think that it holds great potential for future growth. I know where I'm at, it is in such need, um, diverse programming that really meets the psychodevelopmental needs of the aging population is there's a deficit in this area, even though there are so many facilities. So I just loved our conversation, and I really look forward to seeing um, what else she does and her contributions, the film that she's creating about the work that she's been doing, and the workbook to help other people go out and do similar types of programming in their area and locale. Anyway, if you enjoyed this conversation and the other conversations that you hear on the show, we would greatly appreciate, and I use the term we because it's not just me, even though I'm the host. There are other people that help make this show possible that I couldn't do it without them. And so I use the term we. We would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, provide feedback or review so other people can find us too. All right. Have a creative rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Creative Psychotherapist. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. For show notes, downloads, and additional resources, head over to the website at www.creativeclinicianscorner.com.